Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Advanced League Tips, a series where we take a look at each champion individually and break down their animation, cancels, input buffering combos, as well as item active interactions that interact with their kit. Today we're going to be taking a look at Irelia, and we're doing another one-take video because there isn't too much going on with her. However, there is an interesting input buffer combo off of the second half of her E between the item actives as well as her ultimate. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, taking a look at how her E works, first of all, it does have two halves to it. So the first half is she drops a blade in one part, and then she drops a blade at another point of your choosing. It creates a zone that any enemy champions are caught in get stunned for 0.75 seconds, and they get this mark. And if any enemies have that mark, you can dash to it as Irelia, and it'll reset her Q cooldown. Now, that being said, the input buffering combo actually has to do with the second part of her E here. Okay, so starting with the ultimate combo, what you'll notice here is that with the first half of her E, if I go ult E, the animation for her first half of her E resolves only after the ultimate here is ended. So again, if we go ult E, then the ult goes off and then the E fires. Okay. Now, when it comes to the back half of her E, if we prep first and then go ultimate E, they fire over top of each other. Now, the thing that's important to note here is based off of the timing from her R and the delay between the snap animation of her double E is that you can get a second Q reset off if you time it correctly. So if we go E and then go ulti Q, you'll notice that we dash to it. Let me turn that off. You'll notice that we dash to it and then we got a second reset mark on there. So to give you two different forms of context for this, so there's the E, and let's go ulti Q, and then there's the second mark, and then we can dash to it again, and then we got our, we went on cooldown after our third dash. Now, to give you that last bit of context, what we're going to do here is I want you to pay attention down here to the number of Conqueror stacks that we get. Now, because these are 4 instances of damage, so we go Alt Q EQ, that's going to be, again, 4 instances of damage, so we should have, because we're a melee champion, 8 stacks of Conqueror from 4 different procs. So, again, taking a look down here, we go E, and then Alt EQ, Q down, and as you can see, we have our 8 stacks of Conqueror. So, the important thing here to note is that with Irelia's kit combo, if you do this correctly, then what should happen is in a 1v1 lane, top lane, or mid lane, you should be able to get your DPS off even faster than normal, because at the same time that you're firing your ult and your E, you're also getting that first reset off of your Q while your E is firing instead of doing the abilities separately. Okay, now, taking a look at her different item active combos, the same principle applies here to Prowler's Claw. So if I go Prowler's Claw and then input buffer my first E on top of it, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. So again, input buffer. While that's going off, I'm inputting my E, and nothing happens. Now, if I put my first E down and then input buffer Prowler's Claw, you'll see that the second E goes off. So, for some reason, Riot has it coded that the second E can be input buffered over top of other items, for example. Now, with her other abilities, so E does not work with her W. And then with her Q, I don't believe you get a reset. Yeah, you don't get a reset because the mark doesn't go off fast enough. Now that we've covered Prowler's Claw, let's take a look at her other 2 items with Gore Drinker and Stride Breaker. So let's start with Gore Drinker, since that one is more relevant than Stride Breaker.
You do not know burden until you've seen
the thing to note here is that Gore Drinker should go off. Yep, as you notice, the Gore Drinker fires and then the first part of the E. So if I go Yep, just like that. And then if I do it in reverse, I believe... Yep, they fire at different times. Now, granted, it can fire during the firing of her first E, but the point is you can't overlay them. And then when it comes to the second part of, or the second half of her E, the two abilities fire at the same time. So let's look at that one more time. So E1, and then Gore Drinker E2, and the E fires out. And then let's do a long-range one. Yep, those fire at the exact same time. And then finally with Stridebreaker, yada, yada, yada. Make sure that's in the right item slot. So if we go Stridebreaker E1, the Stridebreaker fires first, and then the first part does. Again, Stridebreaker isn't a real viable item on Irelia. However, with the E2, there we go. We get the dash off from Stridebreaker, and then we get the second half of the E one more time with context, E1, and then Stridebreaker E2. And they both fire at the same time. Now, for our final Advanced League tip, which I just remembered and didn't include in the intro, we are also going to cover ult flash in here. So essentially, this during Irelia's animation of her ultimate, it does not disable flash, so it allows you to get an extension on the ability if needed. So the way her ultimate works is simply she flips around and fires her blades. If they hit an enemy, they create this zone, deals damage, and if people walk through it, they can't auto-attack and take more damage. So if you are out of range of Irelia's ultimate, and then during her wind-up flash, then it will extend the range of her ultimate because the blades won't fire until the animation of her flip resolves. So looking at that a couple more times, out of range, R flash, and then there it goes to activate. One more time. Out of range. And there we go. So, there you go, guys. There is all of Irelia's Advanced League tips and input buffering combos, etc. broken down for you. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will see each other again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.